Okay, so we watched the second episode. I did not write down the title. I feel like I should do that if we're...
It's called... Nope. I was looking at a movie. The Great Good Place was episode 1. It's called The Pupil. I don't love it.
That word hit wrong.
Yeah. It's not great.
So we did forget to mention in our first coverage that we do have a beautiful new opening.
Credits.
Yeah, opening credits.
I was like, we don't have a new opening yet.
No.
Yeah, the credits are all the portraits.
But like the eyes disappear.
Well, and then they turn all grotesque too. It's almost like a Dorian Gray kind of thing. Pretty cool. I like it.
So I am enjoying this, especially in the sense that it is very atmospheric and there is kind of like a mystery and you are sort of being pulled in. It is very different so far from Hill House. Hill House was sort of immediately, you were like... Yeah,
it was like episode 1 when Henry Thomas's face goes all bonkers.
No, it was 2.
It was 2, but regardless, it was creepy from the get-go.
Yeah, there was... It was a more compelling sort of like family dynamic and stuff was happening.
Sure.
It's like...
This is like, there is no family. It's like the siblings.
That we know
and
of,
then the rest of them are not related. So it is interesting. It's an interesting... amount of dynamics, but it also, I'm getting the impression that these children have just been allowed to like run roughshod over this, because like none of the other adults seem to be in any capacity disciplining them or caring for them in any way except for Owen, who cooks. The rest of them are just like, well, there they go.
No, you kids.
And it's like there's no other oversight besides Dani, which is I find interesting.
Well, because I was going to say, like, for me at least, effectively, we're 2 episodes in and Dani is really the only thing that I care about. And even then, it's sort of... It's not marginal because Victoria is so good, but...
She's doing something. Well, I know we talked about it in the first episode, but she is... I can't even really explain it because I think we haven't seen enough of it yet, but she's got, like, multiple things going. And she's doing this thing where she's acting like a really awkward person who laughs too loud at her own jokes, kind of a thing. It's really
I can't decide if it's the character or if if this is a bold acting choice that is only mostly working.
I think it's the character,
which would be I don't want to read too much into it, but
yeah,
the critical consensus was that this season is good, but it is different.
Yeah.
And they did that movie, the Mackenzie Davis and Finn Wolfhard.
The Turning.
Yeah, which is the base of this story.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't see the movie, but I gathered from the trailer because it was a shitty January movie. Yeah. So it was like, I'm kind of intentionally not saying a few things that I think we're dealing with.
Okay.
But I do.
I'm going to say one of the things.
You know?
No,
or?
I just think that I think Oliver Jackson-Cohen is in The Little Boy.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. That's not what I was going to say.
Because he is being romantically aggressive
when he like
with Dani.
When he like
both Will and I were like, nope, don't like that.
It's flourishes like that it's like that are keeping me interested, and that it's like it's just working on a different level, I think. Yeah. And so it's a much slower burn. And
I agree with the slow burn part, because it's also we're like still getting to know all these characters in a way that I think what you said about the family dynamic in Hill House, I think we got a really rapid shorthand for a lot of things in that, because we had that family dynamic. We knew there were twins, and then like an eldest sister, and like a kind of just a little bit younger. So it was like
there were also outside people that they were dealing with.
Yeah. So it was, I think, a lot easier with Hill House to get to the point that I don't think we're going to get to with these characters for like probably 2 more episodes, but it was like much faster, where we like sort of had the lay of the land with the characters. And then it was like, we were dealing with the spooky stuff that was happening to them a lot faster than like a lot of spooky stuff right now is happening to these characters that we don't know well enough yet. And I think that's the difference between them.
And I currently am taking a lot on faith. I am so far, I actually think it's just okay, but I have faith that we're building to something.
I think I mostly agree with you that so far it's just okay, but the things that they're doing are working for me enough that it's like obviously Victoria Pedretti, and I think the rest of the acting is doing okay, but it also is like there's something that's just shy of just shy of being direct with all of the characters, where there's like everybody is just like 1 degree left of center, where it's like the gardener, Jamie, I think they said her name was.
The gay gardener.
She feels everybody feels just a little not right. So like that's the stuff. And then like
there's a very like how long, what year do you think it is? How long have you been in this house?
How long have you been dead in this house?
And I don't even know it's necessarily dead, but it's like one thing that I'm really impressed with is the way that Michael Flanagan and team and company are able to come up with uniquely creepy imagery. Yeah. Because the Oliver Jackson-Cohen leering in the window.
Through the frosty window. Oh, man.
It was just so unnerving.
Yeah. And I think part of that is also for us because we saw The Invisible Man, and he does like a similar kind of leering smile. And he does, when he smiles that way, because like to me in Hill House, he was just like a charming addict, you know? But he's able to make his eyes dead at the same time that he's grinning, and it turns into like a really creepy
it's like the
grimace.
Gentleman.
It's kind of like the Gentleman. Yeah, he's very good at that, and he hasn't even had a line yet. No, but I'm like
because
alarmed.
the implication that the show is steering us is that he's the like man that Rebecca fell in love with, and I think Rebecca was the black woman that we saw when during the hide and seek game. She was like standing outside the window or the door frame and walked away, and so there's just not an amount of money because the house is gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
Like it is beautiful, but it's like even without ghostly implications, that just by building that house, it's haunted as fuck. I think we said this in the first one. It comes pre-haunted.
It comes pre-haunted. Well, it's also like the opposite of your aesthetic.
Yeah, well, there's not a window in the play. Like, well,
there's windows seemingly everywhere, but they don't let in any light.
And that foyer is just ugh. But yeah, the hide and seek game. And so, right, because it's taken us a minute to get to this, but the meat and potatoes of everything, because they play hide and seek and the kids have to be older than they are. Like, and there was that weird like corpse that was, or whatever it was. I don't know, because it had a face like the clay dolls. Yeah. Like it didn't have a human.
Shushed. Yeah.
And her shushing it is so good. It's so chilling.
So that creeps me out. And the doll in the basement creeps me out. And Will was like, you saw all this already in the trailer. And I was like, I don't care. It's creepy.
No, I see that. I agree with him a little bit where I was like, I don't know how you would advertise this. Because it's like, I think seeing it in the trailer took away from, because I was like, oh, we've seen this. So so we have seen, there are animate dolls.
I don't know. I wasn't expecting it in the moment, I think. So that's why it creeped me out. Also, I watched the first trailer and then I've watched nothing else. So I like forgot a lot of stuff. And
I watched the first trailer like 7 times.
No, I watched it once and then nothing else.
We did forget to mention there's something called The Lady in the Lake, which I assumed was Rebecca, but because didn't she?
She drowned herself. Yeah.
Mercifully, we had some backstory for. What's the boy's name? Miles.
Yeah.
Where he was like at a boarding school. And mercifully, it seems the priest was not a predator because I was like, oh, God.
No, I agree with you. I was a little bit nervous about that, too. But I'm very curious what the deal was, because it seemed it appeared that it was after their parents died and after Rebecca died. So that was really interesting to me because I assumed that Rebecca had died more recently than that, even though I guess Henry Thomas said when it was, so that was my bad, but
it was 6 months ago.
That's interesting to me that that he was sent to boarding school after both those things happened, and the reason that he was such a terrible child at boarding school is because Flora asked him to come home.
He was trying to get sent home.
I'm interested. I really, really want to know where it goes, like what we're doing. And I think we get more Oliver Jackson-Cohen in episode 3.
I think it's about them.
Yeah.
I think it's like a flashback.
Him and Rebecca. That is a bold move, which is something I wanted to say. Doing a flashback within a flashback, because the whole show is a flashback of Carla Gugino telling the story to other people. And then we're doing flashbacks within that. And that to me is always a bold move, because you get into like I need to draw a graph about where we are.
Because we don't know who Carla Gugino is. She says the story is a friend of
Someone
hers
else's
story.
Yeah.
So
I was sort of, at first I was working under the impression that she was Dani, but I'm not sure anymore. So we'll have to see.
So I could buy that she was a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting, because we could meet young her at some point. But
that's true. Oh, maybe
the
young
gay
her.
gardener.
Well, no, maybe young her is Kate Siegel.
Well, we haven't met her yet.
No, but I'm just. Maybe.
I did want to mention just outside of the story how amazing Flora's dollhouse is.
It's pretty cool.
That dollhouse is so cool.
Pretty cool. Well, it's the house, isn't it? Isn't it the manor? Yeah.
It's a little small. I prefer 1/6 scale, although it would have been. It would have been the size of that wall. But I did want to say Miss Gross and the crack in the wall, and in the opening credits, her painting is cracking, and other ones aren't. So I don't know what that means, but there is that.
Interesting.
And the crank calls.
Yeah, the phone in the kitchen keeps ringing and then nobody is there.
Yeah, that's got to be something. And I did write down, I wrote down the John 16:22, which was the Bible passage. That conversation
about grief,
was, sorry, okay, it took me a minute. I watched this last night, so I was like trying to remember. I love when people get into religion from like an actual philosophical way and not like, it's not real. Like, what's and I just like the conversation they were having about consent and like casting the demon into the pigs.
That was really, because he asked the priest specifically, did the demon need permission? And what about, would it need permission to go into a man? And I was like,
which, yes, I've known that, that like you have to invite a demon in. Because that's why we were not allowed to play with Ouija boards when we were kids. Because
it's like inviting bad spirits.
You can invite, according to superstition or whatever, what have you. You can unknowingly invite an entity into you. You don't have to consciously be like, I give you permission. And even the fact that they were like such young children having that discussion,
a smart discussion, but I didn't. It didn't.
And even the moral of the 3 different books, how it's like the perspective changes the story. Like
it also didn't feel too grown up.
No, for
those kids who are like 10, 9.
I went to Catholic school for a chunk, and it's sort of I remember religion class, and I was like 12, but I remember it being relatively poignant. So
I don't know. When I was at a Catholic school, my mom let me take art instead of religion.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, let's watch the 3rd episode and see where we land.
Yay!